This is where it all started in May 2007 when a pork pie made by a butcher with 30 years experience started out on its journey to London for the first stages in the judging in the Great Taste Awards. I'm going to find out a bit more about that. Andy Ayres, MD, Grand Fromage, head honch of Walter Smith.
Nigel,
great to see you.
Lovely to see you again.
Last time I saw you was a rather special night when you were voted Supreme Champions with your free-range pork pie. What did it feel like on the evening to get all those accolades?
I think on the evening I said, you know, all of my life I wanted to play professional football and would love to have played at Wembley. And it felt like that. Sales of the pies just went through the roof. The shop that you're in now, that made the pie, that won the competition, that was the Supreme Champion, they couldn't produce enough pies. They were working all the hours, really, that God sends. And it was quite phenomenal. Pork pies now are a major part of our business.
And you're wearing your Great Taste Award stickers with pride because you're using them for brand, this remarkable pork pie. So who is this man with 30 years experience butchering? Started out here as an apprentice and is now the commercial director for the whole of Walter Smith. So Robert, talk us through the process of making one of your award-winning pork pies.
We've sourced the very best meat that's available to us. It's a free-range local pork, and we go one step further than selecting a free-range local pork. We specify that we have a gilt pig. The recipe that finally won the competition was a blend of shoulder meat and belly meat. And when those two muscles are blended, then in the finished cooked pie, you'll get a marbling effect running through the pie. We are diced and ready to mince, so Peter's now going to mince the shoulder pork. He blends the shoulder, so we get an even distribution of shoulder and belly. We add the rusk in 2 stages. Again, we disperse this by hand. So, Peter, you can put the second stage in. We're looking for an even distribution. We're not looking for something that's been whisked around very, very quickly and becomes rubbery. This is almost like if you was making and folding a cake. You know, you want to keep it loose.
What does the rusk bring to it?
The rusk gives us a separation. So if you imagine you've got a hunk of a pound of pork and put pastry around it, if you try to bite into it, it'd be like a piece of iron. You know, you have to have a blending and of seasonings and a looseness. But to cook something, then it's very light and tasty to the bite when finished. Peter will put the seasoning in now, and this is probably the biggest single key ingredient. You'd have to say that, you know, don't even ask me what that is.
It's a secret ingredient.
No, it's not. No, it's not. It's dried brown sauce, prunes, apples and vinegar. And then the final ingredient that binds all that together is our spring water. The body of the pie is now going to get filled into our pastry shells, and the crucial part, again, it takes longer, but there's no portioning controlling, no balling, no automation used. They're still just dropped in by hand very, very lightly and left proud of the top of the pie shell. And finally, on top of our loosely filled out pie, we apply the lid that goes on top of the pie and just a little bit of water so we have the adhesion between the lid of the pie and the shell, and then that's hand crimped with a little hole in the top that can be stored or straight to bake.
And what difference did it make to sales after you became the Supreme Champion of the Great Taste Awards?
Well, this shop specific went from between 50 to 100 pies a week to the 2,000 in the week of winning the award. And as a company, I believe we're settled down on 13,000 pork pies per week, and we're also supplying Selfridges, so that's a job well done. Well, this is the final stage now. Peter's applying our first glaze before they'll all be coated, and then they'll go into the oven and giving you the traditional nice glossy finish to a pork pie. They are. This is the product hand now. He's got a bake time on these pies. On the first batch that comes out, he'll get his probe thermometer. This pie has got a specific temperature that we aim to. These pies now, as you can see, they're still bubbling, they're very hot. So these pies need to rest for a while now, because at a later stage, we're going to have to jelly them. Now, Matthew now is giving them just a second glaze.
So Robert, the pies have rested. What's the next stage?
The next stage is, what you see in the glass bowl there is a gelatine mix, and as with our pastry, as with our mixing method, that is our own bespoke jelly. It's got a very distinct, obviously it's a Walter Smith profile, so that's an award-winning profile that's in there. The secret of a good pork pie, we've cooked it through to temperature, and the bottom of the pie, you can hear that biscuit crisp to it, and the wall of the pie is also got a perfect finish to it. So that is, up until this stage now, you will not make a better pie. We've only got one final stage. We've got to get that jelly from there into that pie.
And what's the process? How do you do that?
Well, you know that I can't tell you that, so it's at this point. I've had a very enjoyable day with you, and I must ask you to leave. And thank you very much.
No, come on, seriously, what happens then?
I am being serious, Nigel. You must go now.
Right. So, who would have believed that from this butcher shop in Cannock in the Midlands, that something as everyday as a pork pie would have such a huge ripple effect around the culinary world, the whole of the world? That is why.